Gardeners always get teased about the $20 tomato. You know, it costs $20 to grow this little tomato in your own garden. Well, there's some truth to that, but also there doesn't have to be any truth to it. I'm Amy, and I am suburban homesteading here in Ontario, Canada. And today I wanted to talk to you about how we can turn that myth on its head, how we can counter it with the ways that we garden and the way that we think about the value of food and other things that come out of our gardens. I'm dividing up some perennials here today. I've got some pearly everlasting here, which is a native plant. My dad has a beautiful native plant garden, just like full of probably 1,000 different species at this point. And he will bring me the babies of his plants, and then they make babies in my garden, and there's always so many to share. And so part of my task in the garden today is to get digging some of these up so that I can rehome them in time for them to start growing in a new home this spring. So when people make that comment about the $20 tomato, they're usually only thinking about it from one angle, and that is obviously the dollar value that you put into that tomato and your return on investment. And so they'll think about things like the cost of the soil, the raised beds maybe, the seeds, the water to water your plants, any trellises that you put in to support your tomato plants. You know, that's true. There are definitely costs involved in that. And even as I pot up perennials here that are like free plants essentially, I have to think about the fact that I'm putting soil into them. That's an investment if you're going to buy soil. So it is true that growing your own food can come with these costs up front. But what that argument always misses is that these costs change over time. Hold on, it is remarkably difficult to do a task and talk about something serious at the same time. As you get an established garden, the costs of all of these things sort of amortize over time. So yeah, you may have had to invest in building raised beds if you have poor soil or if you have a bad back or something. You may have that upfront expense that some may deem unnecessary. But the point is, it pays for itself over time. You may have to bring in some soil to get yourself started. But then if you have the space and you learn how to make compost, that all but goes away, that cost over time. If you learn about techniques like adding all of the fallen leaves at the end of the year onto your garden beds and then they break down and add some loam to the soil, then you don't have to worry so much about that constant input. Now, we still buy soil every 2 to 3 years, but we're also constantly making new beds and expanding. And so if I bring in a load of soil to fill a new bed, then I'll also top up my other beds. But of course, you also don't have to do that. There are ways to garden without the input of purchased soil. Maybe not for everybody. If you live in an area that just doesn't have good soil, then maybe that's not feasible. But at least where I am, like in Ontario, Southern Ontario, we have some of the best natural soils for growing food, as long as you care for them properly. But regardless, the point is, yes, there may be upfront costs to establishing a garden, but those reduce over time, year over year. And that's really important to keep in mind, because that $20 tomato in year 1 could then become a $10 tomato in year 2. And by year 5, it's absolutely free. You can save your own seeds, you're building your soil, it's absolutely free. And so then maybe 10 years into growing your own food, you have more than paid for all of your infrastructure. And like 10 years is generous. We're only 5 years into growing food at this place, and we have put a ton of money into our infrastructure because it's something we care about. We want it to look nice. We want everything elevated up off the ground. We've put a ton of money into it, and I bet it's paid for itself just in like the grocery savings alone. So that $20 tomato for us is now a $0 tomato. I swear. And it's not just tomatoes. One of the things that gives you the best bang for your buck in a food garden are the perennials. Now, right now I'm dividing up non-edible perennials. These are just plants for the pollinators and for their beauty, these pearly everlastings and a bunch of the other ones I'm going to divide today. But edible perennials like raspberries and rhubarb and asparagus, all of these plants are super, super high value and you pay for them one time. You don't have to pay for them. You could get creative, and like maybe there's plant swaps in your area where you can get some, or just seed swaps and start these things from seed. I have started both asparagus and rhubarb from seed before, and it's totally doable. It just takes a little longer. If you eat a lot of fresh herbs, or if you like herbal teas, there's just so many herbs that you can grow that are perennials. So you plant a seed once, or you plant a little plant one time, and then for the rest of your life in the garden, those things keep paying you back over time. And so like a $5 thyme plant, for example, you pay $5 one time, and then you get thyme every year. And like a bundle of thyme at the grocery store is probably $5. So you get many bundles per year. You really make your money back on something like that. Mint is another one. If you drink a lot of herbal teas, like mint teas through the winters, man, it's expensive to buy like a nice loose leaf mint tea. Even bag teas these days is expensive. And it's one of the easiest things to grow on your own that you don't need constant inputs for. In fact, I'm sure you could find any gardener in your neighborhood willing to give you a chunk of a mint plant that they have growing, because they're so prolific, and you could do it for free. But even as I speak here, I am still kind of focusing on the monetary aspect of it. Like that $20 tomato, it may be $20, but think of the money that you can save at the end of a 5-year gardening spree. I think my most important point to make here, though, is that it's not all about the money. The garden gives you so many more outputs than just that tomato that you would otherwise have to spend money on at the grocery store. Here's some extra parsley that came up too. This is self-seeded in the garden. Parsley's biennial, and so if you plant a parsley plant and it survives your winter, it'll go to seed the next year, spread seed all over the place, and then the following year you get a whole bunch of first-year parsley plants. These are pretty high value too. People like to buy these. Here's some parsnips that we planted last year, and I left them in the ground over the winter, and they're still good. I did test the difference in taste between ones that I harvested in dormant season. So before spring really arrived, before the leaves started regrowing. Those ones were nice and huge and crisp. And then I tested these, which have started to regrow already. And the taste was identical once cooked. These ones were just a little bit softer before cooking, but you couldn't tell the difference once they were cooked. Now, if you let these actually send up their seed stalks, which they're going to be inclined to do very soon, then the taste is going to be a lot less good, and they're going to be a lot tougher to eat. These parsnips were also sown a lot later, I think in July, which is very late for sowing parsnips. The other ones that I harvested in the dormant season before spring really arrived, I sowed them in May. And so May is like the ideal time for sowing parsnips if you want nice giant ones. But apparently July works too, as long as you can keep them over winter. I'm pulling these up today because I don't want them to go to seed. But this is another example that's counter to that $20 tomato idea. A pack of parsnip seeds costs me maybe $3, and you can get them free from seed exchanges. And then I get just like bags and bags of these delicious roots that last all winter. And I didn't even need to put them in the fridge. I just kept them outside. So it didn't even cost me any energy costs. They're just, root vegetables are one of the greatest for return on investment, bang for your buck, because they don't really need anything special. They need some okay soil, but unlike with tomatoes where you need trellising systems and they're very hungry plants, so you need really good soil with compost or whatever fertilizer you want to add. Root crops like parsnips, you don't need much. Stick them in the ground. This is our last harvest of the 2025 growing season, harvested here in May of 2026. Not too bad. It's a good bundle of parsnips. All right, back to this concept of the $20 tomato and the reason why people think it costs so much and why it actually does cost so much if you do it in a certain way, if you grow food in a certain way. These are our tomato trellises right here. This cattle panel is not cheap. This is the cheaper of what you can buy, actually. Like, I wouldn't try to hold a cow in using this fencing. This is just essentially garden trellising. And each panel is now just over $20, although during supply chain disruptions just a few years ago, they were like $40 to $50 a panel. So it was not really a budget-friendly way to garden. And we're putting in another row of the same trellis along this side of these beds this year. So we'll have 4 of these. And with the wood and the wiring, these trellises do cost a lot. And I've tried other methods of trellising tomatoes as well, like the Florida weave and just pruning them to a stake. I just don't like those as much as I like this. And that's why I use this. I've enjoyed how sturdy it is. I don't have to worry when there's a windstorm that my tomatoes are gonna fall over and break. I like how sturdy it is. But it does cost money. So when we think about the input costs, like one of these panels plus some good soil, you can probably get away without a raised bed if you want to just add a bunch of compost or amendments to the ground and then add a trellis. But that just alone, for one bed for 5 tomato plants, we would have spent probably, about $100 for a year to set up for tomatoes in one of these beds. And so even if we only get 100 pounds of tomatoes from those 5 tomato plants, I don't know the actual conversion of like pound of tomato per dollar, but I do know that right now in spring of 2026, the cost of tomatoes is exorbitant. It has gone up so much. So this is actually a really good year in my favor to be making this argument because the cost of tomatoes from the store is already exorbitant. So if the cost to grow it at home in year 1 is exorbitant, well, it kind of comes out in the wash. But the point here is that when you buy a tomato from the store, you have to do it again and again and again and again and again. And when you buy the inputs to set up tomato growing at your own garden space, you're doing that one time. Sure, you may be adding amendments to the soil every year. So maybe like buy a $20 bag of compost if you're small scale. That's enough for the year for your tomatoes. And if you're larger scale, then definitely go for home composting so you can make your own amendments. And then all of a sudden, by like year 5, that tomato is free when you consider all the money you've saved at the grocery store. Let's go back to this idea of dividing up perennials and the value that comes from that. So in this garden here, I have some boysenberry. This trellis right here in front of you is a boysenberry on the trellis, and boysenberry spreads by just touching down on the soil and then sending out roots. And so you get tons of baby plants. And boysenberry is actually a very high value plant to sell because it's a berry plant. People love berry plants. And it's thornless. And it's very easy to get growing. So right here, this is money. I sell boysenberry plants for $20 each on Facebook Marketplace. Now that does help pay for the soil that I put into the pots. And I only have pots because I've been a gardener for so long, buying plants, being gifted plants, that I have collected a bunch of these pots, these nursery pots. But yeah, right there, $20. And this is about to spring forth into life. And so it's going to look a lot more impressive by the time I actually get pictures taken and posted on Marketplace. Let's dig up $100 here today. Another perennial with really high ticket value is this trumpet vine, which is still dormant. Goes up like this. It's a beautiful native vining flower. This is just the start of our collection of perennials for sale this year. We've got all of these pearly everlastings, which I could easily double if I wanted to. There's some hostas left over from last year. We don't really have hostas in the garden anymore. I just dug them out, divided them, potted them up, and have been selling them. Hostas actually sell for quite a lot of money as well. These are some brown-eyed Susans. They're just messily thrown in there, but there are hundreds of seedlings that come up as volunteers. This is a smooth rose. The smooth rose is a beautiful native rose that spreads readily. Here's a boysenberry that was potted last year that I guess I got it at the end of the season, so it's going to be sold this year. And then a few more boysenberries that I've dug up this year so far. So bottom line, growing food is never going to be free, but it can pay for itself over time. And we, of course, have to include labor in these calculations too, if we're talking monetary value of a garden. So if you want to sell things like perennials, there's labor that goes into digging those up and posting them for sale. And then if you want to think about the value of a store-bought tomato versus homegrown, you have to consider the labor that goes into growing those tomatoes, keeping them pruned, keeping them harvested, I guess, which is not necessarily something that you would track in those other inputs like the soil and trellising and raised beds. But there's also a lot more to growing food than the monetary value. One of my favorite things about being a gardener and being in the garden is that it's a place to escape from this constant cycle of productivity and profit. The garden is not part of our capitalist system, and I don't want it to be. And I think there's a danger that it could be, because really that's what we know. And so when we talk about things like the $20 tomato, we're forcing that whole garden system to fit into this capitalist design. We need it to be productive and efficient and spit out dollar value at the end of the day. These eggs, if you think of it that way, have a fairly high dollar value because we feed our chickens well and we built them a nice enclosure. There's a lot of cost that goes into keeping backyard chickens that way. There are ways to do it for very cheap if you have sprawling land to raise chickens on. But I refuse to think of it just in terms of the dollar value. This garden gives me so much more, and gardens give people so much more than just the value of a tomato that you could buy from the store. They give us a connection to the land, which is so valuable now, especially in this day and age. People have just become so disconnected from the land around them, the land that sustains us. And gardening is just a wonderful way to relearn that connection that we have. And it's valuable for our mental health. It's valuable for our bodies, getting outside, getting fresh air, getting exercise, activity. And of course, the food that comes from our garden has higher nutrient value than most of the food you buy at the grocery store. Yes, it's true, when a lot of produce is harvested and then shipped and then it sits on a grocery store shelf, it loses nutrient value over time. In fact, it doesn't take very much time to start losing that nutrient density. And if you grow food in healthy soil that has a lot of natural nutrients in it, and also all of those networks within the soil that help to transport the nutrients to the plants so the plants can absorb whatever nutrients are there, and then you harvest that and eat it right away, that's like the most nutrient dense food that you can get. So that $20 tomato might actually be worth $20, even though it doesn't cost $20. It doesn't need to cost $20. And my final point to make is that I don't want to downplay the value of food by saying it should be free, because food is something that we cannot live without. And so while I think it should be free from the expectation that we pay money for it, that we have to have a certain amount of money to be able to afford a certain quality of food, I think that that is trash as an idea that society has built itself on. But I do think that we have to respect the value of food. So I wish that it didn't have to be seen in terms of the money spent to buy the food, but more in terms of the value that we should be willing to put into growing it. So at the end of the day, I think that that tomato has more than paid for itself. If you enjoy this kind of content, or even less political, more just digging in the dirt, I do that too. Please subscribe, come along for the ride, and I hope that you'll come and grow with us.